Well, I'm a boxcar rider and drifting is my game. The railroad engineers, they all know my name. My living's on my back, my home's along these tracks. My music is the rumble of the train. Well, I've done lots of traveling and plan on doing more. Wherever I may please, I roam from shore to shore. I go from town to town, even up close down. My hat don't hang on anybody's door. I'm gonna ride. I'm gonna ride those trains. I'm gonna ride. I'm gonna ride those trains. Tomorrow you will find me further down the line. I'm gonna ride those trains.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome aboard the Ghost Train. I am your engineer, Casey Bones. Before we get started on tonight's journey, here are a few simple safety rules. Stay in your seat while the train is in motion. Keep all body parts inside the train cars at all times. Do not touch the car attendants or performers, and smoking is never allowed on the train. As I mentioned earlier, I am Casey Bones. Many of you have been coming to the Ghost Train for the past 10 years, have been wondering how I've come about. Tonight I will answer that question for you, and I also will tell you why I return every single year. Before we proceed any further, one more thing. This ride is recommended for brave children and adults aged 13 and older. Also, you do not want to be on this train if you have an aversion to strobe lights. That's all I have to say for right now. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride.
Is everybody safely seated and ready to go? Good. How about you, Casey Bones? Alright then. It's too late for you scaredy cats to back out now. Casey Bones, let's ride!
My story begins over a century ago. You may know the song about my real name, but I will tell you it after we cross the fiery portal of time itself. As we pass through the fiery time portal, we will be going back in time to April 29th, 1900, the year and day I became Casey Bones. Now, let me introduce my former self. If you kindly look at your TV screens at the front of your car, you will see what I once was. My name was Casey Jones, but my formal name was John Luther Jones. I lived from 1863 to 1900. Yes, if you mortals do the math, I was only 37 when I died. But enough about my personal life. Here's what happened to me on the night of April 29th, 1900. After I arrived with my train, the station master asked if I could do one huge favor, and I said sure. What was it? He said, could you take train number 1 back to where you came from? And I said sure. So, I was put in command of train number 1, the Chicago and New Orleans Limited. I think you people call it the Panama Limited nowadays. You see, train number 1 was 1.5 hours behind schedule, and like I said when I was alive, I would get her there on the advertised. If you look over to your left, you will see me and the station master talking in front of my locomotive. Ladies and gentlemen, the ghost train needs to stop and pick up some more coal, and some scream as well. Car attendants, keep an eye on our guests while we load some more coal on.
Mr. Bones, we are still running behind schedule.
I know. I know. Don't remind me. Return to your seats. The train will begin moving momentarily. Anyway, back to my story. You see, by the time I got to my second water stop, I was only 15 minutes behind schedule when a dense fog appeared, and a slow freight train was just about into a sighting for me to pass them. But unfortunately, that didn't happen. You see, I missed many warning signs, like signals, due to the fog. Well, what do you know? We are just about to my rig site. I think we may make it this time. Hold on tight, mortals. And if I were you, I would keep my head and arms inside the train. If you look over to your left and right, you'll see what happened to the two trains when we collided. If you must know, I was the only casualty during the wreck. I died when
Mr. Bones! Mr. Bones! Ladies and gentlemen, please remain seated. First car attendant, go up and check on Mr. Bones, please.
Yes, sir. Sir, Mr. Bones is not in the cab.
What do you mean, not in the cab?
No one's in the cab, sir.
What? Other car attendants, look for Mr. Bones in the wreckage. Uh-oh. What's that sound?
Look out! The boxcar is loaded with dynamite!
Oh, what? Oh. Now, the way I died was not in a fire explosion like you just saw. I was crushed by my very own locomotive. Many people said when I was pulled out from under the locomotive, I still had my hand on the whistle and brake. That part, I must say, was true. I indeed had my hand on the throttle, on the brake and the whistle. The reason why I return every year, I will tell you a little later. Just listen to the song about my former self.
Come on, you round is what I want you to hear. Story about a real brave engineer. Casey Jones was the rounder's name. On an 8-6 wheeler, boys, he won his fame. The boss called Casey about 4:30. Kissed his wife at the station door. He mounted to the cabin with his orders in his hand. Says, I'm gonna take a trip to the promised land. Casey Jones mounted to the cabin. Casey Jones, his orders in his hand. Casey Jones mounted to the cabin. Said, I'm gonna take a trip to the promised land. Pour on the water, boy, shovel the coal. Stick your head out the window, watch the drivers roll. I've gotta run it till she leaves the rail, 'cause I'm 9 hours late with the western mail. Casey rolled on to the fateful place, where old number 9 looked straight in the face. He hollered to his fireman, boy, you better jump, 'cause there's another locomotive and we're bound to bump. Casey Jones mounted to the cabin. Casey Jones, his orders in his hand. Casey Jones mounted to the cabin. Said, I'm gonna take a trip to the promised land. Casey Jones mounted to the cabin. Said, I'm gonna take a trip to the promised land.
Now it is time to tell you why I return every year. Most people say that on the anniversary of my wreck, you can hear my whistle blowing as I warn people to get out of my way. Why is this? I want to warn people who are on the railroad nowadays to make sure that we have enough room to stop and to be safe. Or maybe not. The real reason why I return every Halloween is to help an old family friend who just happens to be my conductor.
Well, what do you know, Casey Bones? It looks like we're on time. Finally.
That is good. So, Mr. Conductor, do you think we should ask the passengers if they want to go back to 2014?
It's up to you, Mr. Bones.
Well, if you mortals want to return to 2014, you'll have to scream for it.
Mr. Bones, I think they want to stay in 1900.
Oh, goody! Because I have one more surprise in store for everyone. When the train wrecked, I couldn't see anything due to all the fog. But now, it's your turn to live through my eyes on that night. I'm gonna stop the train right here, and you will see how foggy it got on that night. Do you ever think me and my fireman will take you back to 2014? Maybe. Maybe not. If you do ever want to return to 2014, you'll have to scream for it. And maybe, just maybe, we'll pass through the portal back to 2014. Very well then. Let me take you back to the time from which we started. After all, the world of 2014 is so much more peaceful and free from violence, isn't it? Please remain seated until the train has come to a complete stop. Then you will be directed to exit towards the back of your car. And make sure you have everything you brought on board tonight. You may now safely exit the train. Good night, and congratulations on surviving your trip on the ghost train. Oh, by the way, enjoy what is left of 2014.